This is The Neutral Position, hosted by Nick Palmisano, bringing honesty and reason back into conversation. Here's your host, Nick Palmisano.
Unpleasant or repulsive, especially in appearance. Adjective. The word is ugly. No, we're not trying to describe your mom or that terrible spring break decision you made back in the day. We're talking about the most heinous, eye-bending, gag-inducing dog chew on the planet. We're talking about ugly chews. To you and me, ugly chews are nothing to look at. You see, when you take cowhide, clean it by hand, and sun cure it with no chemicals, it doesn't look like a cute dog bone or rawhide, but it also doesn't sit in your dog's stomach forever or cause digestion issues. So while we see a hairy mess that we don't want to touch in any way, shape, or form, your dog, the natural predator that he or she is, yes, even Mitzi the toy poodle has some wolf DNA in there. That dog just sees gorgeous, delicious, healthy nature. So when you're at the pet store scanning the aisle or you're online ordering the next tasty morsel for your canine companion to gnaw on, are you buying that cute bone or that rubber toy for you or for your dog? Because in your dog's world, that pretty, chemical-filled, tied in an adorable bow treat is a 6 out of 10. Tops. It's fine, it'll do, but it doesn't inspire. Why? Because to your dog, it's not natural at all. It's foreign. It's manufactured. It's a frozen dinner when you really want a perfectly cooked steak. In short, it's just not ugly enough. So if you want to give your dog the experience of a lifetime while Dreamweaver plays and the world moves in glorious slow motion, then get your dog an Ugly Chew at uglychews.com. That's uglychews.com. Hey guys, this is Nick Palmisano, and I am thrilled to have Liz Hartman on today. She is a commander of an American Legion post. She is a financial guru. I believe that she's gone to space. That's probably not true, but she's done a lot of cool stuff. Liz, tell us about yourself.
I'm so excited to be here, Nick. Thanks for having me. I am.
Oh, and you're a Marine.
Oh, the most important thing. Got a bunch of pussies in the room, but we got
Whoa,
me here today.
And we're off.
We're off. Yeah, so I'm Liz. I'm the Marine. You mentioned it. I'm the commander of American Legion Post 539.
Is that the best post?
In North Carolina, easily.
What about in the world?
No, I had to think about it, but yeah, I think we are.
Because Post 6 in Chapel Hill is a pretty nice post.
It's not about the niceness of the post, the building. It's about the spirit of the people inside, and we really do have the best people.
You have the most spirit.
We have the most.
Is it a Marine-centric organization?
Actually, no. We're heavy Army, which I think keeps us
sane.
Battling was where I was going. There's always a fight, always an argument, but yeah, great people.
Are you a man?
Am I a man?
Yes.
How would you define man, Nick?
Well, generally, the chromosomes and the genitalia is normally where I would go with that. But you can define it however you want. But are you a man?
I would say no, I am not a man. I'm a woman.
Are you over the age of 70?
No.
How are you holding a leadership position in the American Legion?
I love this question. So, man, they threw leadership at me. It was like episode...
Like actually?
Oh, yeah. They really were like, here you go, girl. Take it and run with it. There's this huge misconception that Vietnam and Korean vets don't want to pass the baton. That is not true. They just need human beings to pass the baton too. So when I joined the post, they were like, heck yeah, you're the first vice. And then about 6 months later, they're like, nah, you're the commander. Congratulations, take it over. And they've been nothing but supportive.
So where do you think the myth comes from? Because that is the prevailing, myth about the Legion. And when I say my generation, I'm old now, but my generation is, thinks of the Legion as for old people, and we're actually
and we are
old.
The old GWAP.
You're not.
Yes.
You're not old. You're not old.
I'm the middle.
You don't get to say. You don't get to say that you're old. But where do you think it comes from that the Legion is for old white dudes?
I think it's always going to be that 10%. There are definitely posts where it is old white dudes that are really mean and they're not welcoming. And unfortunately,
where are those posts?
They're very loud. There's a couple in North Carolina. There's a
Yeah?
couple everywhere.
Do we need to like storm them?
I'm trying.
Have like a, an old school like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu storm where it's like you throw
Heck
down?
yes. And then take over the post and bring it into the 21st century. And I think also our marketing, we don't do the best at telling our story. So when we have successful posts, when we have young post commanders, we're not out there sharing it.
There's a rumor on the street that a marketing company, a young up and coming marketing company, might start doing work with the American
For the American
Legion.
Legion, you don't say.
It's possible. It's possible.
What? Oh,
I don't want to mention. I don't want to
great.
mention any
This
names.
is great.
But
I'm very excited about this
yeah,
supposed marketing team coming on.
We'll see what happens.
I think it'll be great.
Happens. So, but why do you think? Why do you think that's what people believe? And maybe a better question: why are you in the Legion?
A man named Ed Hughes,
Okay.
retired lieutenant colonel, Vietnam helicopter pilot, saw me at a Chamber of Commerce event, and he was
like from across the room, eye contact
from
kind
across
of thing?
the room.
Then you turn around.
Yep, and I couldn't turn around. So he came over. He's like, I heard you were in the Marine Corps. I said, yes. He was like, well, you're not done serving. Just because you have your DD-214, that's a cop-out. Keep doing more. And so
you got a waitressing job.
Yeah, yes, I did. That's what half the role is. So I showed up to the first meeting, and that's how it started.
What have you been able to do there? Like, what is it like?
It's awesome. So we have a huge annual hike, a 22-mile, a 22K.
That sounds terrible.
It's freaking awesome because you drink
sounds...
the whole time.
Oh, while hiking? All
it's
right,
great.
Right.
There's a 2.
So it's not like a road march. It's more like a casual hike.
Oh, it's a casual road march.
But it's a road march still.
It's on a road.
Okay.
And you're marching.
And you're carrying like a rock.
And you're carrying a rock, but you're drinking.
Okay.
And you're with
All
friends.
Right. Are we doing 15-minute miles or are we?
No, they're slow as molasses.
Okay. All right.
They're very slow. And then for the people who hate walking, you can do the watermelon crawl at the end, 2.2K. And it starts at a bar.
Does it involve watermelons in any way, shape, or form?
No, not at all.
Why do we call it the watermelon crawl?
That's a song by like some country guy.
Oh, you're right. It is. Okay. Now that makes more sense.
Yeah, right? That's
Okay.
a watermelon crawl.
It is. Yeah,
so you can get drunk, do your watermelon crawl to the end.
Okay.
That's one of the things we're doing. We use all that money to help local veterans. So we've all heard of these nationwide organizations, these nonprofits, but when we look at their money spent, it rarely ever is spent entirely on the veteran. We spend it all on local Craven County veterans, getting them their utilities paid, getting them gifts for Christmas, getting them food on the table, stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you've enjoyed the experience.
I love it. I love every moment.
What about for people that probably don't have time to go to posts or what? People, for example, like me, what's the value of the Legion?
There is such a value in being what I would call a paper member. If all you are is someone who pays that $40 a year to get that membership, that's pretty much all I am. Number is crucial.
Are you judging me right now?
No, I'm actually greatly appreciative that you understand that just being a paper member also matters to us, because that gives us clout, it gives us numbers, gives us power on the Hill. So when we're arguing the PACT Act, the Afghan Adjustment Act, it helps if we can say we have X million members. So even if you don't want to get involved, you can afford $40 a year. And that helps us fight for you and get you more benefits.
Awesome. All right. We'll come back to the Legion.
Awesome.
But let's talk a little bit about your story. So,
okay.
What brought you to the military?
Oh, man. I was a shitbag. Like, I was going nowhere in life. I was from a town in Ohio where everyone...
You don't have to say anything else.
There you go.
You can just stop right there. You needed to get out of Ohio.
Yes, I needed to get out.
I get it.
Are you from Ohio?
No, I've done a lot of business in Ohio.
So you do get it.
So I have been to Ohio on a number of occasions.
You get it. It's like...
The only thing in Ohio that I really like is Carfagna's, which is an Italian restaurant. And that's the best thing that Ohio has to offer.
Do Swenson's next time you're in Ohio.
I don't. I'm sticking with Carfagna's.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so you get it.
Great Italian food. And there's also... a lot of distribution facilities there, and that's Ohio in a nutshell.
Oh yeah, and a lot of depression, a lot of drugs and depression.
When I land, I feel depressed. So I get it. I get it. It's like, yeah, we're in Ohio. Like,
what do we do here? How do we get out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay. So that totally makes sense.
Corps.
So, but why the Marine Corps? Because I mean, I know this. Like, I'm not supposed to. But like, the Marine Corps is probably the least friendly to women.
Oh, absolutely. this is going to sound ridiculous, like I'm making this story up, but I always wear heels. I'm known for wearing just ridiculous stilettos.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wearing stilettos.
Same. I have the same thing.
So you get, okay.
Yeah. It's like,
Do you have a brand you
it
really
accentuates the calves.
Oh,
like a
yeah.
Ferragamo guy,
Oh, makes your legs look really good.
Yeah.
So you get this.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my stilettos. I walk into an Air Force office. I'm sorry, I walked into the Marine Corps office.
Yep.
Recruiter looks me up and down and he's like, wrong office. You're looking for the Air Force. Go down the hallway.
Now you're pissed.
And I was livid.
Yeah.
And then I was like, even if there was a better branch,
Now I have
I'm
to be a
sold.
Marine.
That's a genius sales tactic.
Do you think he goaded you in?
Absolutely. 100%. I think he knew what he was doing and he knew it would work.
He was like, red hair.
Done.
She's going to instantly get mad if I
Be
challenge
furious.
her in any way.
In any way. And we know I'm not the strongest, but it worked.
So now you're like, I'm going to be a Marine.
I am a United States Marine, yeah.
And then what happens?
Then I joined the Marine Corps. How the story goes. Took the ASVAB, took the D-Lab. They sent me to Monterey to learn Arabic.
Oh, awesome.
You're ruffling your brow.
I don't want to brag or anything, but I took 2 semesters of Arabic.
Ooh.
So I speak no Arabic.
Elf Mabruk. That's wonderful.
I always found it interesting, though, that like another state that, it's much nicer than Ohio, but Iowa,
Oh, yeah. It's so much nicer.
So, but in Arabic, so I was like, is there some kind of connection here to that? But anyway, so you become an Arabic speaker.
Yeah.
Are you like good?
Not anymore.
But you were.
I was.
You were pretty solid.
And then I had hip surgery in the Marine Corps and I was med-sept. It's like the most lackluster Marine Corps story.
That's your Marine Corps story?
That's my Marine Corps story.
So you joined the Corps.
Yeah.
You
learned Arabic.
And then get hurt.
And then get hurt and did nothing, never deployed. That's why it's always so funny to me that I keep getting elected for these positions because I keep telling people, I'm like a boot. I'm less than a boot. Why do you guys keep electing me? And it's, Terminal Lance over here.
Yeah.
Through and through.
Were you a Lance Corporal?
I was.
So you literally are
I am a Terminal Lance.
Okay. All right. So.
And I embrace it. I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
can I ask, what is a Terminal Lance?
It's like a nothing.
Just okay.
So it's like the third rank.
Mm-hmm.
But
the explanation on your face tells it all.
But like the first 2 are like given.
So is the third in the Marine Corps. The third is given.
Yeah, I mean, I was being nice.
No, it's fine. Rip me apart.
I was being chair. I'm not trying to rip you apart. No, so basically, like a Terminal Lance is like somebody gets in, and they get out instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you're a Terminal Lance if you either get out quickly, or you're always getting in trouble and you're always getting like reduced in rank back to.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's all I can
So there's a very popular cartoon that this guy Max Uriarty does that's called Terminal Lance. It's a huge.
There's like
cartoon.
a symbol, I don't know how to do the finger symbol. Yeah, see? There's a gang sign for it.
Yeah.
It's a point of pride.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my story.
Awesome.
Wildly lackluster.
So but then you marry a Marine.
No. Then I got my bachelor's. Then I
Okay.
got my master's.
But you met your husband, didn't
in
you?
high
meet?
school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you met him like at basic or
That's
something.
That's stereotypical.
Okay. All right. So not during.
No, different paths.
Okay. All right. So you get out, bachelor's, master's, back to back.
Go work for DOS for a bit.
Why finance?
Oh, so when I was working for Department of State, I did grant management.
Mm-hmm.
So I was overseeing finance programs in the Middle East.
And you didn't want to take it for granted?
I'm glad somebody got it. I wanted to get more control over my schedule.
Okay.
And that just doesn't happen when you're working for the government ever. So I jumped to personal finance and it allowed me autonomy over my schedule and where I was at any given time. So I jumped to Edward Jones and that's kind of why finance.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like
All right.
a meh answer, but it's been great ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So then Israel, how do we get there?
Oh, so I was working for Department of State. I oversaw a specific group of programs called the Middle East Regional Cooperation Program. And those were programs that sought to partner one Israeli with one Middle Eastern partner from an Arab nation in order to build cooperation on science projects and health projects. And so I sort of tackled the finance side of it, making sure the monies were being appropriated and used properly. But it was in the Middle East.
What's the wildest thing that happened?
That's like really putting me on the spot
Yeah,
here.
I mean, like, hey, welcome to the show.
I think the weirdest thing that happened, maybe not the wildest, was I flew into Jordan for a meeting. And I had been talking to these Jordanian partners for months at this point.
Mhm.
And I flew in, I was like, hi, I'm Liz. And they're like, no, you're not. We've been talking to a 55-year-old woman on the phone. And I was like, that's me. Hello. Nothing crazy beyond that. It was a great time.
That's your wildest Department of State story?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a lot of lying happening right now.
Good thing we
You
don't
know?
have those chairs that
Yeah,
you discussed.
yeah. We should. That would actually be.
It would make it, if they buzz, that would be
How
crazy.
much of a bonus to the show would that be if the guest was on a polygraph the entire time?
I'm thinking there has to be something crazy.
And Kelsey's reading the polygraph. You know, she's like,
And every time,
She-
or we had one of those buzzers. Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
she's lying.
I'm trying to think of something crazy, but
So
yes.
right now, I just want to be super clear. Your contention thus far, because you're on the show because you're an interesting person, but
I mean, that's up for debate.
Your
But
contention
okay.
thus, you're like, this is what the story you've told us so far. I came into the military and then I got out because I instantly got hurt. And
It was
then,
like 3.5
then
years
I
later.
worked for Department of State, and the most exciting thing that happened was the Jordanians thought I was 55. That's where we're at right now.
I am trying so hard to think of
Can-
something more
Can
spicy
we
for you.
up the ante
Yes,
a little
hit me.
bit?
Hit me with something.
You know, are there any current things that you'd like to talk about?
Oh, absolutely.
What in the world is bothering you right now, other than this show?
I want to. Oh, this show is tough. I want to talk about Sudan. Got a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Just because of your background, your experience.
Yeah. So an organization that I helped found called Save Our Allies, we've actually been forward since this whole thing started kicking off. So we sent a precision evacuation team to Djibouti, and in conjunction with USG, and they've been standing by in case precision evacuation was necessary. It has not been, because after, while there were some Westerners that got killed right away at the beginning of the conflict, since then, both sides have gone out of their way not to engage Westerners. They don't want us involved in the fight. I mean, very candidly. And so, we are constantly in communication with USG to see if anything is needed. It hasn't been. So, our team is essentially, ready
On
to completely
standby.
stand down. But that's one of the things that like Save Our Allies is always trying to do. So if there is a conflict internationally where Americans or our allies could potentially be stuck, imprisoned, jammed up, we immediately send a team to whatever neighboring country is going to work with us, and we're on standby. So I'm super proud of the organization. It's been, and I'm happy
That is incredibly
that
awesome.
it didn't go south, but we had a great team out there, and so that's the precursor to any conversation we have about Sudan, is we're kind of intimately involved.
Helpful for me to know.
Yeah.
So my question with that is,
Mhm.
we see a lot of arguments that the embassy was evacuated. Everybody knows the embassy was evacuated. But then DOS came out and publicly said, they knew that there was a security risk going into the country. They
Mhm.
should have known better, was the tone of that message when it came out from DOS,
Yeah.
which that's arguably a change of precedent, right? In the past, it doesn't matter what the citizen knew or didn't know, we're going to evac
gonna
our
get
people.
we're going to get you out.
So is that happening, in your opinion, politically, because this administration doesn't want to repeat Kabul?
Yeah, I think this administration has been very soft on this particular issue.
Sudan in particular is what you mean.
I mean American
Just evacing broadly.
evacuation in general. I think that Kabul was a black eye, and I think that rather than owning the fact that it was a black eye, the administration keeps doubling down on it went great. Like that press
And
conference.
that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, look,
we all know it was a mistake. Just own up. That's really what we're looking for.
And they did better. You know, like the very beginning was true catastrophe, literally people hanging off the bottom of planes as they took off. You know, towards the end, you know, it was a pretty solid operation. It wasn't great, but it was much better. You know, but there were a lot of things that went wrong that should have never been a DOS mission. It should have been DOD.
Correct.
You know, and so,
Absolutely.
so all of that contributed to the issues. And I think the administration has generally had good press with the exception of Kabul. And so I think the wrong lesson was learned by the team there. Not that the lesson should be, we're going to get Americans out at all costs.
Correct. Let's make tactical adjustments, strategic adjustments. Let's not just avoid all conflict moving forward.
Because, you know, if you make it known, listen, you know, Sudan, I understand you guys are having a civil war. Like, Americans get killed, we're involved. If you make that known and there is a real threat, there is little chance that Americans are going to get killed. But if it's, well, you knew the threat, there's nothing that we can do about it, that is a different thing. Now it's like, maybe we can grab these people. Maybe they can, you know, maybe we can ransom them. Maybe we can, whatever, you know, you don't know what it is. So I feel like, and I don't understand where it comes from, but I do feel like this administration is weaker than, I can't think, you know, maybe the Carter administration is the last time where I didn't feel like we really had somebody that was going to like hardcore get Americans.
Yeah. And I think another aspect of it is, put us side by side to Britain, France, Saudi Arabia. I mean, they were in there, they evac their people instantly.
Instantly.
So even if we take away that standing precedent,
Japan,
we don't look good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bad look if you're turning your back on your people.
Yep.
Japan's able to get them out faster than us. What are we sending? What's that message we're sending to our people?
Yeah, and I don't know where it comes from. And I know the argument's made, well, we don't want to put American lives at risk, but I haven't met a single soldier,
you know there's Marines ready.
That would not instantly go in to get Americans.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up because an article was just released that Marines are doing evac op training aboard Camp Lejeune right now. So you've got the Marines. They are the force in readiness. I know the Commandant just said it's an amphib issue. I mean, there's debate to be had there. Was it really a boat issue or was this a political move?
Well, I mean, you know the capability of the U.S. military.
Absolutely.
There's literally nothing we can't do.
They could have done it
if we want to do.
And that's where I kind of land on it. I think it's a fear of repeating the past is holding us hostage.
I would very much like, and this isn't just this administration, this is all administrations, I would very much like to have like an ethos with which we do things as opposed to
willy-nilly, let's change it depending on the day.
Like you can't worry about public opinion all the time. Like sometimes you just have to do what's right, and then you let the cards fall where they lie.
And interestingly enough, I think if they cared less about public opinion and stood by their core principles, people would love them.
Yeah.
I think it would play great for public relations.
I think one of the worst things that ever happened to politics, and I've talked about this before.
A 24-hour news cycle.
Well, that's not helpful. That's truly not helpful, because then you're constantly trying to get views instead of curating good information a couple times a day. But President Bush Sr. was one of my favorites. People can agree, disagree, whatever. That's okay. But he actually won a war, right? The
one of the few.
Desert Storm was genius. The way that there was a clear end state, decisive, built a team, executed it. The generals wanted to go further. He said, "No, we
hit our mission. We're done.
Done. Great mission." And then he did the right thing, which is, hey, we just spent, billions of dollars on this war. And so, I said we weren't going to raise taxes, but because we had this war, we have to do what we've done every single time in U.S. history, which is create a war tax to pay off this war. So he raised taxes. Well, he lost, to Clinton based off of read my lips, no new taxes, because he was referring to domestic taxes, and he knew he was going to get hammered, and he did it anyway. And if you actually look at what that's done, every other president learned the lesson from that. So we had 20 years of war. We did not have any war tax.
Correct.
So the result of that was Americans didn't really feel the pinch at home. So we have this massive deficit. No one is really affected, or at least they aren't in the short term.
I would argue many didn't even realize there was a war those last 10 years. No feeling at all.
Promises become easy. You're no longer trying to do the right thing, which is like, you can't spend infinitely and not ever raise tax. You either have to spend less or you have to raise more money. There is no other choice.
Basic finance.
And so, yeah, you know something about that.
So, just a little bit.
You've got a couple degrees in that.
Just a little.
So I think that the lesson learned from Bush Sr. was the wrong lesson, but they've all adopted it.
Oh yeah, they just pander to an audience.
Republicans, Democrats, they've all just racked up deficit after deficit after deficit.
Well, and that is my biggest frustration. And I say this every time I get the opportunity. If veterans could come together as a unified voice with the understanding that neither side cares about us, neither side cares about the military, neither side cares about us at all. The Republicans and the Democrats alike will use the issues that are most important to us to get us to vote. And that's what's so upsetting. They're pandering to us, and we're falling for it every single time.
We can always, I don't care what the conflict is, we find money for war every time. And we can't come up with a fraction of that to take care of veterans. And I'm not talking about people like me or you. I'm talking about I'm talking about people that don't have legs, people that have lung issues, people that, were
exposed to burn pits, exposed to toxic water for 3 decades.
Yeah, like you can't come up with a tiny fraction of the budget we spent on 20 years of war for that because it's too expensive. Oh, we need to balance the budget now, but we can blow trillions of dollars on killing people.
But I got to give it to them. They've perfected it.
Oh, yeah.
They know if they say, well, it's those damn Democrats, it's those damn Republicans. We won't focus on the common sense answer. We'll attack one another.
But at some point, you've got to start paying attention. You can't be an intelligent person and listen to these people and believe what these people say when, I say this all the time, I wouldn't hire most of them. And I run a small marketing company. I'm not running the world. I'm not running the most powerful country on the planet. And these people have more say than anyone at this table. And I'd literally rather have any of us randomly dropped in any of the positions. I don't even know your politics.
Doesn't matter.
I don't care because I believe that everybody here would try to do the right thing, not what is needed to get reelected or whatever.
So this is the part of the American Legion that I absolutely love. I fell in love with the idea that the American Legion was going to stand behind policy. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter who they pissed off. It didn't matter if they were too seemingly aggressive or hostile with one administration. They were going to stand behind policy they thought was right. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of that is you could have an everyday Legionnaire write a resolution, say, hey, this is what I believe in, and we can get it passed. And that is what I think we just need to somehow amplify more so that we can just really take over and get people together once and for all.
So one of the things that, I wrote an essay a long time ago about the challenges of a smaller and smaller veteran community. Mm-hmm. And so, and I did this because I'm a loser nerd. I did this essentially a statistical analysis of this America, veterans, duration of war, et cetera, and just kind of, put out 11.2% of all American citizens served in World War II. 4.3% served throughout all of Vietnam. And at the time that I wrote it, it was about 0.45% of all Americans served in GWAT. I think by the end of GWAT, it was close to 1%. Yeah. It's going to be more and more challenging to have a voice that matters as veterans.
Absolutely.
As time goes on, for 2 reasons. 1, smaller percentage of the population, fewer people will care. 2, there is there is a rapidly developing, and I hate to use the term war fighter because it's overused, but there's a rapidly developing, war fighter caste where, the number one reason why most people join the military is their parents were in or their brother was in.
That growing divide.
It is a narrower and narrower piece of America. So because of that, there are fewer touch points in the civilian world, so fewer and fewer reasons to care. And so I'm deeply concerned about that because we already are not paying for wars and through taxes. So we don't feel that pinch. So there's no reason why anybody would think maybe we should stop this war because they're not paying for it. Whereas if you were paying an additional $100 a paycheck,
you'd start voting a wee bit more.
You'd start making different decisions. And also,
your neighbors aren't going to war. You're not seeing the physical impact anymore.
Most people in Vietnam, for example, like they had a brother or a cousin or a dad or, someone that was close to them was in the war. Now it's like, oh, I knew a guy that knew a guy in high school. Like there's another layer or two where it's not close to you. It's like even in a KIA, and I don't mean to be harsh about this, but like my first cousin died is not the same thing as this guy I went to high school with that I didn't really know died. And so it's not that obviously none of us want anyone dying, but when the costs of war become more and more distant, it's so hard to make anyone care.
Well, and I also think we have a veteran population that's growing more and more fractured. We have this, I'm a combat vet, so... And that is, to me, even more troublesome.
Yeah,
we are a shrinking population.
It's super dumb.
It's more imperative than ever that we come together regardless of rank, commission, combat status.
I think as people get older, it matters less. I think it's...
I completely agree.
Because what happens is...
Case in point, I keep getting elected. Like,
there you go.
Nobody cares.
No, but, when you're young and you deploy, it's a big deal. Like deploying was like,
it's your identity.
It's huge, right?
Yeah.
But then, when you get out and all of a sudden you have no veterans around, you're just happy to see another veteran.
Exactly.
And then I think about, who, then it becomes like, man, someone's trying to get a job and some guy helps him. Oh, he's a veteran, like no one's saying like, hey, were you infantry?
What branch were you in?
Yeah, I mean, like, because it's just like anything, right? The more specialized you get, it's like, oh, you're a combat veteran, but were you infantry? Oh, you're infantry. Well, yeah. Well, I was special forces. Like, well, I was this. Well, I was that. There's always another layer of I'm cooler than you, and I say, oh, I'm not cool. So I'll just start that right there. Like, I'm not cool. You were cool. Until the hip incident.
Yeah, there we go.
Was it like a really lame injury? Like, did you like?
Oh yeah,
take a step off?
No. I was running. I mean, I tore it, so I was at least running.
Were you running fast at least?
Yes. Okay. Which is why I think I tore it. I was running fast up a hill and
you tore it up a hill. Usually, I would think down a hill.
No, up a hill.
That sucks. Were you carrying weight or anything?
Yes.
Carrying a person on your back?
Yeah, a little fanny pack. It was cute.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I think that matters less, and I think it's going to matter less over time, especially because we're now, at least for a short period of time, outside of a time of war. Most people that are in now, that are under E6, probably haven't served anywhere.
Yeah. I'm glad you rolled your eyes when you said, for a short period of time, we're not in a time of war, because we know it'll come.
America likes to fight wars. We have a really huge military-industrial complex.
We have politicians who like to make money off of wars that they never have any personal tie to.
No skin in the game.
That's the real answer. Right. And it's, once again, when that war does come, whether it's 5 months or 5 years from now, they in particular will not feel.
It's really bad that the old Creedence Clearwater Revival Vietnam song still applies.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a reason to fight a war for people that are not fighting the war.
Amen.
For people that have no skin in the game.
Amen. There's always a reason to cut veterans' benefits.
Yes.
For people who are not veterans.
That drives me nuts.
And it's not.
It drives me nuts.
This goes back to your paper membership.
You know.
Be a paper member. I mean, There's a lot of, this is not popular opinion. There's a lot of new nonprofits, right? Nonprofits pop up every 3 days.
Yeah.
The beauty of these congressionally mandated veteran service organizations is they're behemoths when
Yep.
you compare
Yeah.
them.
Oh, yeah.
They have the infrastructure, they have the capabilities that these other orgs that are newer just don't have. And that's why that membership really is imperative, so that we can stop the bleeding, because it will always be veterans benefits that are first on the chopping block.
Yeah, which is, it really is insane. Like, how do you look at that? How do you ratify some of the pork projects that all of these people have, and then look at that and say, and again, like, I don't care about most, like, I don't need anything else from the government. Like, I'm fine.
But there are some that do, and
but
that's where the
some
problem
people
is.
do.
Yep.
Some people really do. And
I mean, the PACT Act, think about how many decades it took. Camp Lejeune Justice Act, they drank the water for 34 years.
yeah.
You're telling me the federal government didn't know the water was poisonous
Oh, it's insane.
for 34
Yeah,
years?
It's insane.
There are people who need help, and
Yeah.
but they'll keep doing it until people come together as one and call it out.
You know, and it's one of those things too, where it's like, you know, my eldest is a lieutenant right now, and I have mixed feelings about it. You know, like, service was incredibly important for me, and it shaped who I am. But at the same time, as you get older and you look at these things and you're like, you know, if my kid got sick drinking the water at Camp Lejeune and all these people knew about it, I don't know how I would do with that.
It's hard to not become disenfranchised the older we get. I think it's easy
Well,
to.
I mean, it's beyond that.
Yeah.
It's like criminal. You know, like, if my kid gets cancer because of something the government did, like, I want to know who's behind that. Like, I'm going to spend a lot of time making somebody's life a living hell.
So we talk about water. We talk about, government policy. We saw COVID, whatever side of you fell on personally, they changed that policy 180 degrees within what felt like a 7-month period.
Yeah.
It was whiplash inducing.
Yeah.
And so it really makes you question, how much does the DOD know? How much do they genuinely care about their warfighters? And how much of this is just politics to make a dime?
The government, when I say the government, I mean the civilian government. There's so many things that they use the military for, and the easiest thing that they could do is force things on the military that they can't force
on the general populace.
Yeah. And, COVID is a weird thing because there should have never been two sides. There should have been information and personal choice. And
there never should have been a spin.
Here's what we know. Hey, excuse me. Hey, what we thought we knew is not accurate. Here's the new information. Here's what we know about the vaccine. We think you should take it, but we don't know. Like, we don't think there are side effects, but
we don't know.
We don't know. Like, if information had just been presented, I actually think more people would have been vaccinated if they were like, we don't know if there are side effects. I really think that if it hadn't been ground into people, that more people would have opted for it, for better, for worse, right?
Just to be given that choice.
Well, it's interesting though.
Americans more than any populace on earth do not like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
But our DOD, you bring up an interesting point. You will be told what to do.
Yeah.
We cannot ever allow for choice in the military, or it will undermine the entire premise of our military.
I get that.
So that's where it became this really, it was politicized for civilians and for military.
For the military, it was tough. And this is why, like, I thought the mandate in the military was tough for the following reason. You can't sue in the military, and you also can't sue
after, because it was incident to service.
That particular vaccine maker, because of the deal to the United States government. So for me, given that there was going to be no recourse for the service member if something did go wrong, any other drug, you take that drug and you die, or you have heart issues, or you have whatever, you can then sue. But for this, you can't. You just have to, like, roll with it. that's a tough thing to mandate, especially because the DoD population is so young that they has almost no effects. I think only a few what was it? I don't know the number. Is it 2 or 8 service member total died? Total.
Well,
I think from COVID.
I don't know if we'll ever see like really accurate numbers on from dying from COVID.
From COVID.
Yes, it was very little.
Yeah, I mean it was almost.
But there was a significant chunk that were removed from the service across the board.
That were removed from the service for not
getting it.
Correct.
I think all I was really looking for, my frustration was make a policy and stick with it. If you genuinely believe that the COVID vaccine is what is in the best interest of our service members' lives, that should have been implemented equally across the Air Force, the Army, the Space Force, Coast Guard, the Marine Corps. There never should have been, different implementations with all these different branches, because what is the message we're sending, right?
Sure.
It got so confusing. And then to 7 months later say, we're changing our mind. Now you guys can be in.
Yep.
Well, if I can be in the Marine Corps, can I still deploy? Or do I still, what's the situation?
Yep.
I think that's so indicative of this greater civilian management of the military. And hopefully it's fixed, or it will be.
What would you have liked to see?
I personally didn't care where they landed on COVID. I wanted one policy and just stick with it.
So your beef is just that there were disparate policies.
Oh, yes, that I felt were dependent upon the Congress that you had at the time.
So, if you had your way, right? We make you SecDef tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are you changing?
If I could rewind the clock, I would start with.
You're saying if you could turn back time?
Yeah.
If you could find some.
Okay, so if I could turn back time.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Harmonizing.
Thank you both for picking up on what I was
will
putting down.
not sing.
Here at the neutral position, we try to break out into song at least once
Some
an
type of
episode.
show
It's so uncomfortable when they sing. I would rewind the clock, and the moment it was determined to be a lawful order, it was a lawful order. And then if you remove people from the force because they failed to follow a lawful order, that is the decision you made. To now come back and tell all these service members, well, we're going to try to get you your benefits now. You can come back in now. Stand by your decisions. We talked about it earlier with Kabul.
Mm-hmm.
It might not have been the right decision. Stand by it. Admit your failures. I think that is what we don't have across the government.
But now from your seat, from your seat in the Legion and from,
The Legion doesn't have a stance on this.
Being the spouse of a service member, being a service member yourself, if you were the Secretary of Defense, what would you be changing about the way that our military operates?
I think it would go a long way if veterans and particularly military congressional testimonies hearings weren't so frequently publicized. I think that's a big part
of. So you think it should be quiet?
I think that fuels the politicization of the military. Absolutely. I mean, you saw the testimony about Afghanistan, where they had the guys come in weeping, and then 30 seconds later, they were using that for either side of their argument.
Yeah.
Those Marines never should have been put through that, and they never should have been used for a talking point.
We were invited to testify and opted instead to just send a written testimony.
Wise move.
Specifically because
you knew you'd be used.
Don't want to be a pawn. Don't want to be involved in the chicanery of.
And I don't know how you answer that, Nick, because I understand you have to have that transparency. You have to have that congressional oversight. But at the same time, there has to be a middle ground. I mean, we know at this point, congressional testimony is used for blips.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How much better would the military be if there was legitimate dialogue about the issues at hand rather than what I need to say to fuel my base to get reelected? Right. That's something that I would tackle as
you got people coming in with charts and quips.
Oh my gosh, that have nothing to do with.
So obviously prepared.
Yes.
Like they're going to drop this line if they have to force it in there. And then you still see like some of the congressmen and women, there are still serious people there. And my favorite thing is to look for the eye rolls in the crowd when someone's speaking, because some of it is so contrived. But still, What would you like to see different about I'm going to keep pressing you on
Okay,
this. What
so
would
I
you
want
like
to see that different. That's one big thing I want to see different.
So you want more private testimony.
More private testimony. Second thing I want to see out of the SecDef is owning up to mistakes. I mean, I forget who it was, but they just grilled him and said, do you have any regrets? Do you have any regrets about Kabul? And he said, I have no regrets.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kirby.
Yes. At the very least, choose your words better.
Yeah. You have no regrets? None whatsoever?
None whatsoever. So that's something else. I just want, if you're going to be on the media, be a little bit more honest with us. I'm trying to think of what else, if I have this like wand I can just do things with.
All right, I'll up the ante. You're not SecDef, you're president.
I would focus more on what I believe to be the important issues. Foreign relations. We talk a lot about military quality of life, and I'm not saying that that isn't important. Hear me loud and clear. Barracks housing, being able to pay for food, those things are critical, and Marines should have,
but
a good quality of life.
Not soldiers, only Marines.
Only the Marines. Air Force, you can get quality of life too.
You already have quality of life.
That's nice. I never experienced that. So that's important. I just want to lay that out there. But what's truly going to have the biggest impact on quality of life is if we send our men and women to war. So I want more focus on foreign relations. I want more focus on diplomacy. Wasn't it Mattis that said, it's that Bullets quote by Mattis? You should be spending equal amount of dollars at Department of State on diplomacy as you are bullets. And we've lost sight of that.
You worked for DOD and DOS.
Yes.
What are the differences?
I could cuss way more with DOD.
Was it easier to work for defense or state?
State. 100%.
What made it easier?
Appreciation for conflicting opinions, an analysis of any situation, right? You weren't just being told what to do. You actually had a voice. You could say, well, I'll do what you need me to do. I'll get the job done, but could you explain this facet of the issue to me? And a respect for one's intellect that I don't think is respected across DOD.
DOD moves faster, though. I'm just throwing that out.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And also, I think if you had, received your stripes, and I think it does become different.
Oh, yeah, and that's important to note that I'm coming at it from a very Lance Corporal who never deployed point of view, right? Like, my role was to be yelled at and to be told what to do. So I was comparing, apples and oranges, but that was my big difference.
Yeah. I agree with you on there is a lot of intellect at state.
Maybe too much at times, I'll give you that. I think sometimes
but I trust state a lot less.
That's a very fair answer. We weren't talking about trust. Like, that's a very fair answer. Great answer. I would trust a Marine with my life far quicker than I would for someone from state.
Literally anyone from state.
Yes.
Yeah, because they'll tell you one thing and
yeah,
it will not be reality.
That's diplomacy, baby.
So, why'd you leave state?
Wanted more control over my schedule. I mean, I had been in Israel. I was there for a month. I was extended. I went back. Then I was extended. I think it was like 1 or 2 more months. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved every single aspect of it. But at that point in my life, it was really important I had control over where I was and for how long. And it was a tough decision to make because it was a massive career change, right? I had Arabic linguist, had been working for state, all of these pieces matched.
Yep.
And then to be North Carolina financial advisor, it was like, what is she doing? So it was a huge jump, but ultimately at the time, it was the right decision. I wanted that control, and I wanted to be able to prioritize my family at that point. Still want to prioritize my family. That came out wrong.
I no longer want to prioritize my family.
No, I do. But at the time, that is what guided that decision.
So what led you to the Legion, though? So I know you went to Chamber of Commerce. And but that's like, I'm at things and people are like, oh, you should do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. But what actually made you go to the Legion?
I'm telling you, it was that man, Ed Hughes. He is now, we do things a little different at my post. So
Did he threaten you? Was it like, hey, why don't you come to the post? And then
I'll let you in on a little secret. If people tell me what to do, I cannot say no.
Okay.
Terrible trait.
That's a terrible trait.
Yeah, it's a terrible trait.
It's a good employee trait.
Great, but it's a terrible trait. So Ed was like, you will. And I was like, yes, sir. See you in a week. And I showed up, and it was the love that kept me. It was the challenge that kept me. I love a good challenge. And you looked across North Carolina, across the nation, plummeting membership numbers, Everybody's saying there was no GWAT vets. Everybody's saying it was just old white men in bars. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going to change it. So I came for Ed. I stayed because I loved the challenge and I loved the support. As cheesy as that sounds. How'd I do it? No sleep. It was all marketing in the beginning. I reached out to a couple close friends. I went to different businesses that I knew were owned by veterans around my age. And I said, hey, I think this will help you from a marketing standpoint if you come join. Because people my age, we're not going to spend money on your product. Old retirees, they definitely will. So why don't you leverage us for marketing and PR? And we'll leverage you for membership. And then we got them in the board. We got them plugged in. The first year was rough. The second year was a bit better because I was finally figuring out the passions. It's really important that I have board members doing what they like to do rather than what I need them to do.
100%.
That was a huge game changer.
I think that's true for all things.
Oh, 100%.
Like I'm talking about whether you're paid or unpaid.
Mm-hmm.
People think that money is the motivation. It is a motivation for a very short period of time. And then ultimately everyone defaults to, do I like this?
What fills my cup?
You know, that's very consultant-y, so I won't say it. But yes, I will concede to the general idea, but not to the horrific way that you expressed it.
I mean, that is the way, and I will stand by that. I've seen it play out at the state level, at the post level, at the national level. I was blessed beyond measure because they first plugged me in as the legislative council chair. Mm-hmm. If they had plugged me in somewhere else, I'm not sure I would.
Tell everybody what that is.
So the American Legion has a national legislative commission that oversees the legislative agenda for the American Legion. And then beneath it, it has this council. It's got people from every state that the council chair is supposed to push out information to.
Do you get to sit in a big chair?
No.
Is there some kind of a pit that you can drop people into?
No.
Okay.
I feel
I'm
like
throwing out ideas that might.
If I'm sec def, I would rewind and do that also.
That might improve your.
They did call me Madam Chairwoman for a while, which
That's
I
cool.
thought was hilarious.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we were responsible for, I was responsible for making sure that information was passed down and mobilizing your everyday Legionnaire to hit send to their congressman and their senator and say, pass the PACT Act once and for all. And that was so fun for me because that was everything I wanted. I wanted to empower the base. I wanted everyday Legionnaires to realize how powerful their one voice was. Fortunately, I was able to do that during the PACT Act, so we got to see it pass. And I loved it.
Do you want to fight VFW?
I want to win. Let me put it to you that way. I want the American Legion to be the loudest, most powerful voice. I think we are unique in that we are not veterans of foreign wars. I did not deploy. And you're missing out. Like, I am an incredible post commander, despite the fact that I never saw combat. I think there's value in a veteran as a veteran as a veteran. And I don't mean that to take away from someone's combat experience or what they experienced in the military.
Yeah.
But every single person brings something different to the table. Yep. And I love that about the American Legion. I love that we embrace everyone. There is no rank. We're all just veterans.
And I'm joking around, obviously.
I took that so seriously.
I know
I was like, I will fight.
I haven't seen any beef because a lot of people are members of both. I'm members of both.
Deeply competitive.
Yeah.
You should.
But you want to fight? You'll fight VFW.
I won't fight. I'm just.
What about DAV? Will you fight them too? Since you're fighting everyone now.
DAV definitely not, because so many of my cute little old guys are DAV members, little cutie patooties. Now, when it comes to getting out money in New Bern.
Now, do these Vietnam veterans and Korea veterans like to be referred to as cutie patooties?
Oh yeah, they love being called babe. Yeah, I break out.
Should I try this with them?
Yes, they'll love it, especially the women. Oh yeah, they'll eat you up.
I meant like the older gentlemen.
They might punch you. Yes, I wouldn't try that.
Okay, fair enough. Hey guys, Diesel Jack Media has just opened up our new studio. And while we're getting things spun up, I've tasked the team with making as many videos as possible. To kick that off, we are launching a limited time $500 video option. Here's the way it works. You go to dieseljackmedia.com under video production, choose the $500 video, purchase it for $500. You get to choose one of three things. How weird do you want the video? Do you want it normal? Do you want it a little funky? or do you want it weird as Once you choose that, you reach out to us at hello@dieseljackmedia.com. We'll write you if you don't write us, and we'll ask you to send us your product or tell us about your service. Then we execute. You don't get any say in the matter. We turn it around in 1 week. It's going to be a high-quality video that you can absolutely use in an advertisement, depending on how weird you wanted it. And that's it. And so far, it's been a phenomenal product. We've made a lot of small businesses happy. If you're a small business and you need a video on the cheap featuring your product, featuring your service, or just as a joke to one of your friends or something like that, the $500 video at dieseljackmedia.com is the way to go.
The beauty of the American Legion is a civilian can go click that button. That's another area of opportunity for the American Legion, is not just speaking to the veteran populace, but speaking to civilians. Mm-hmm. Because as you said, we are not unified. We have to bring in our civilian counterparts. We have to bring in our moms, our kids, our extended family to get this policy through the door.
You're right about that, actually, because it's not, these issues don't just affect the veteran, it affects them, but then it trickles down to their families. I mean, you were talking about poison in the water. In my mom's dad, I forget which war or when he served exactly, but he developed, or he had cancer from gang. What, you're gonna have to help me.
Agent Orange.
Yes. Bam. And then my aunt now, she suffers from different medical health issues, because and it's linked through all of that. And they put you guys through so much. I mean, it's just, so all this secrecy, and you guys are just pawns.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I mean, and there have been some terrible things that the military and the government have done over time. Testing syphilis on testing syphilis on black men, for example. There have been some crazy things that if you go back far enough, it's nuts. But in general terms, I think the military tries to kind of do the right thing.
Oh, and I will always say joining the Marine Corps was the greatest thing I ever did. And I would do it all over again in a heartbeat.
You learned Arabic and you
broke
a hip.
It is who I am. Yeah. It was a great time.
You need a T-shirt that basically said, like, I joined the Marine Corps and all I got was Arabic and a bum hip.
That would be amazing. That's amazing marketing.
We have like pins in the American Legion. I'll make a pin.
Yeah,
that's great.
Exactly.
I did nothing, guys.
But no, yeah, because it will take civilians also, though, because we have to care about it too. Just because we think maybe sometimes war doesn't affect us, but it affects us all in different ways.
It affects civilians in ways they don't realize.
Yeah.
Economically, we are a huge asset to any single community. Mm-hmm. We spend money. Mm-hmm. Marines, soldiers, it doesn't matter where you are. I'm just based in New Bern.
You're just jingoistic.
Yeah, very biased.
Yeah.
If you're in Fayetteville, soldiers spend money. They're idiots. They buy race cars they don't need. Yeah. They buy phones they don't need. They buy houses they don't need. I mean, Marines, soldiers, sailors, airmen, they spend money. Mm-hmm. From the lowest rank all the way until they retire, they're spending money in a way that their civilian counterparts don't have the means to. And then when we look at retirees, especially in North Carolina, pensions aren't taxed. So we have more spending money. I mean, we are easily fueling the economy. The defense economy in North Carolina in particular is the second largest economy.
Yeah.
So that's what civilians don't realize. There's this huge knowledge gap.
Yeah. Veterans on average, similarly aged veterans make more money, do better in school. Basically every single
so much funnier,
statistical, hilarious, good looking. I mean, there's so many things that veterans do. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't know about veterans. But I do think that, going back to your point, I think that the soul of the nation has to include taking care of people that take care of you. So I'm blanking on the quote. There's a quote about, how a country takes care of their veterans, predicts the future or something like that. It's but you do have to start asking yourself questions when we have essentially limitless money. Even though we're running a huge deficit, there's problems.
Yes.
But right now, in the future, it might not be this way. Right now, we essentially have limitless money.
Yes.
And yet we have a ton of homeless veterans. We have a ton of veterans addicted to drugs. We have a ton of veterans committing suicide. We have a ton, all these things. And there's a lot of great nonprofits that try to solve these problems. And some people don't want the problem solved.
Correct.
Some veterans want to be homeless.
Yes.
You know, some veterans and that's
an important part of the puzzle.
That's a different issue. But the fact that, you know, the government can get away with not caring, really,
that's the issue.
That's a problem. It's a problem when we only care about what affects us directly and not about the greater community. That's what keeps me up at night is not any of these individual problems. Like, I don't think Russia's going to beat us. I don't think China's going to beat us. Like, I think that, you know, we have to be weary of them. I think we have to meet fire with fire, so to speak, economically and in other ways. But I worry that we're losing a little bit of our soul. And in doing so, we will become something other than what we've always been.
Okay, so if I pass the president baton back to you, how do you get that soul back? It's within all volunteer force.
It's a good question. Yeah. So I think the thing that is not happening right now and hasn't happened for a while is politicians that try to actually connect the community. And I admit it is so hard because President Biden could go on right now, give the best speech, have the best of intentions, and he's
torn apart.
He's still going to get dragged by Green and Boebert and those kinds of people. Similarly, you know, President Trump could have been a completely different person. He could have been, you know, kind and understanding and not sarcastic and had good policies. And he would have been completely dragged by the AOCs and the Katie Porters and the, you know, like, I recognize that will always be a problem, you know, in modern society. That being said, I think we need a cadre of, I think we need a movement. If you remember, there was it wasn't the best movement, but there was a movement around, you know, taxation in the early 2000s that kind of propelled a big Republican surge. I think we need a movement that is about like the decency and the soul of the nation. Like, we have to get back to the idea that we're trying to do the right thing and not that we're trying to beat other people.
I agree entirely, but my frustration with that, while I agree, is that's not sexy. I mean, that and that's why I get so torn on this. We all know that's the right answer. No one will disagree with you that we need to get back to this soul and have.
Yeah.
But how do you implement it?
Well, people always want to be against something, right? That's what people like friction. We are designed to fight.
Animals at our core.
In the old days, it was like tribe versus tribe, you know, don't cross the line or we're going to fight you kind of thing. Or at least it was, we got to go hunt food. We have to go solve these, you know, every day we're fighting or we die. We don't have that anymore.
And so now those tribal wars become this Democrat-Republican fight.
We hunt for meaning and we hunt for our own battle. And that battle has taken the form of, if you're a Democrat, you're my enemy, or if you're a Republican, you're my enemy. And it becomes like those Democrats, those Republicans, when in fact, there's really no meaningful difference if you look at, statistically, you look across the
voting records.
Yeah, like it's like, come on, like this is not, you know, a lot of people now are calling it the uniparty.
Yes.
But
I think that's an important first step. I think once you can get people to realize it's a uniparty, that they are all using us as pawns, that's the first step.
So I think we need to get to it. We need a group of people that are willing to kind of scoff at bullshit. We need, you know, and I think it needs to be like a young cadre of politicians, intelligent people that are aligned, that like whenever anybody's dropping bullshit, when there's these fabrications, when you've got the extremists getting up and spewing nonsense. I think it needs to be like eye rolls. I think you need
Public shaming.
Yeah, literally a public shaming. Like, I'm not
going to entertain this.
Walk out. Like, I'm not listening. This is not reasonable.
Have an adult conversation.
We all know this isn't reasonable. Why are we supporting this person? But right now we're rewarding these people. We're rewarding them with sound bites, right? Green gets reelected, not because she's done anything good, but because she's always on TV and people know her.
Absolutely.
So, like, we might as well vote for her.
Correct.
AOC.
It's the exact same. Boebert. It's the exact same.
Boebert. Like, I mean, Boebert is not smart. I mean, I don't throw that around. I don't like to make fun of things that people can't control.
But what Boebert does is she has topics that she knows her base will rally behind ruthlessly. And she mobilizes that base
over and over again.
And you have to respect that.
I don't, though. I don't respect
You don't respect that strategy aspect?
No, I don't respect when you are serving. I don't care what the capacity is. I don't care if it's DOD, DOS, as an elected official, as a judge, whatever. When you are serving, you have an obligation to something bigger than yourself. I do not respect somebody that manufactures outrage in order to get power.
If I had to amend my statement, respect was not the correct word. I think it's important to,
if you're asking me,
recognize
it's effective
what she is doing. You should be doing what you believe is the best thing for the nation. What she is doing is easily not the best thing for the nation, right? She's tearing us apart at our core. So I do withdraw respect. You are correct.
No, but I just think, like, for me, it's less about. I'm a big McCain guy, and what I love about McCain is he was fearless with his willingness to go against the grain.
John Quincy Adams.
Yeah. Like,
absolutely.
What's the right thing to do? Like, this isn't the right thing. I'm not doing. Oh, well, they're going to drag you. I don't care.
Yeah.
Drag me. Like, life is short. Drag me. I think we just need that.
Oh man, I feel like an asshole for saying respect. That's going to haunt me.
Yeah, it should haunt you.
I take it back.
It should haunt you. You know? I can see why you never made
corporal. That was a really good pedestal that you just got. That was good. Well deserved.
So how many people did you sell out to get in charge of your post?
17. I can list them all right now. No. I don't know.
What's the worst thing you've done to somebody at the American Legion?
Like physically, mentally, psychologically?
You choose.
I mean, you make it sound like it's a fraternity or something. Like, do they have to get? Is this a gang? I mean,
I think in the beginning I've dismissed people. I think I fell prey to this belief that there isn't a role for everyone. In the beginning, I was like, well, man, I gotta get a post 9/11 veteran in every position, and I would dismiss people without digging deeper. And seeing, oh, this person has a wealth of knowledge. I need to bring them into the team. They need to be on the board because this is an area that we lack in. I would say that's the worst thing I've done.
Man, I'm getting all these wussy stories, you know? Like, I thought you were going to bring the heat.
That's how you guys read the email. That is not my fault.
We got this very aggressive email. We got this very aggressive email from Liz that was like, there are some
anybody who knows
that was
me?
like, there are some problems with you and your crappy show. And I'm gonna come and correct all.
You know what?
Things.
when you said it, when you.
So I'm
a
Libra at heart. If you just present a good argument, either way, I'm going to agree with you.
What does it mean to be a Libra?
I'm just like, I'm gonna agree, man.
If we had known you before,
it would have made sense.
We would have totally dismissed it because you obviously don't have anything to bring.
Well, see, I saw the hair and I was like, okay, yeah, she means it. She means business.
I'm trying to think what
serious.
So I did have. This is some heat. I had one post member removed.
Wow.
I would say that is the.
Wow.
I've not talked
like
about
physically?
it.
What do you mean?
Physically?
Administratively removed from my American Legion post.
Wow.
What'd they do?
Was it like at gunpoint?
No.
Did you make them walk a plank?
I wish that was a rule.
As they walked out, did everybody do a dramatic about face?
So
like they were dead to them?
Was there a saber that was
There was a vote. There was a vote to make it happen.
Okay, less dramatic.
Yeah, but no about face, unfortunately.
That would have been the heat right there.
The person wasn't there.
That's what they used to do at West Point when people got kicked out for honor violations.
An about face, and everyone turned their backs to him.
Really? Oh,
Like you've
That was a
turned your
that was
back.
a long time ago.
excommunicated?
Like,
Like,
ex,
oh
like
my
excommunicated.
God.
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That's-
That would actually
That's
kind of
worse
That
than
was-
getting kicked out.
That was back when
Yeah.
West Point really cared about the honor code.
They don't do that now. They don't do what is it called? What did you
No.
call
The
it?
honor code.
It's a lot more flexible now, apparently.
Yeah, that's
I'm
crazy.
I'm throwing heat at my alma mater.
Wait,
right
but
now.
seriously, like the American Legion,
I know.
how
No one got kicked out.
how
know.
does somebody get how do you search for the veteran, but how are they initiated in? Is it like that, or
You
say
can,
just-
don't
they
talk
just-
about the secret ceremony with Kelsey,
Some
because we do.
unless you want to join the American Legion Auxiliary.
good sales.
See what I did there?
Good sales. It's like
See
you're
what I
trying to
did
get a job or something.
Civilians play $80 a year, by the way.
I don't even know. We don't have an
Is it
auxiliary
really?
post.
It's $80.
There's no way.
We make some cash.
There you go. Smart move.
We're collecting $40 per. Just click on
Per
this
person.
Diesel Jack Media link, and we'll get you signed up with the American Legion
That's some-
Auxiliary.
Good financing.
You want to talk about the American Legion Auxiliary? I'm giving you carte
No.
blanche to talk about the Legion.
Did they say you cannot talk about us?
So in the beginning, there was the American Legion, which was the veterans organization.
In the beginning,
there
was the
God
American
created
Legion.
The American
Just
Legion.
And
remember
it
that
was
this
good.
Is edited. It's not live.
and it was
This is edited?
good.
It is
Oh,
edited. Not
thank
live
God.
Well, we're not editing this out.
Yeah.
Though.
Okay.
This is too
In
good.
the beginning,
Before, man,
God created
there
the
was
American
the
Legion.
Legion.
Oh.
And it was good. It was veterans. So then there was the auxiliary, which was the spouses.
Yep.
You got to consider this was a time when spouses were traditionally women.
Mhm.
So you had to be a mother, a daughter, a wife, a sister. That was auxiliary.
Got it.
There's also Sons of the American Legion,
Ah, yes.
which is, spoiler, it's the sons of veterans, fathers of veterans, brothers of veterans, yada,
Got
yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
Okay. Knowing that we have all of that, a few years ago, I don't know when it happened, but the auxiliary was opened up to men because, spoiler, there are women in the military.
What?
What?
This is outrageous.
What? So
When did they allow that?
I wish I could remember for this, but insane. So they opened it up so that male spouses could join the auxiliary, which is, without question, the right move. It
Yeah.
should be opened
Was
up.
there beef about that though?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And my question, as a veteran, knowing now that auxiliary is open to male and female spouses, even though they have these different administrative formations, I question if they could do more good as one unified body.
Mhm.
That is a very contentious thing to say. in
Like
the
a
American
Voltron,
Legion.
so to speak.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Now, do they get to meet with the members, or are they like?
No.
Oh, they don't get to hang out?
So the auxiliary has their own meetings. They have
Can
their
they
own-
come into the American Legion post?
at my post? Yes.
What about at regular posts?
Sometimes no. Depends on the commander. I'd say there's younger veterans tend to have a different philosophy that this should be a family-oriented organization, and in order to have a family-oriented organization, you have to have
You have to allow the
the family in the room.
Yeah.
So 539 is a bit different in that regard. We allow families in, we allow kids in. Other posts will say, oh, this is a formal business meeting. Aux must leave, sons must leave. It depends on the post. I believe that the information I have for my veterans, the spouses need to hear it too. You need to hear what we're arguing about on the Hill. You need to hear all this same information, the events, because 9 times out of 10, it's the spouse that gets the person to the event.
Yeah.
So let's
So
embrace them.
What's the concern?
Why do some people not integrate?
No, I mean, what's the concern about having them there or not having them there?
It's just the way they've always done it. The American
That's what you
Legion's
think. That's what you
favorite
think it is.
Oh, I've been told that probably 100 times easily. That's the way we've
Now,
always done it.
Do you think you're going to get fired from the Legion
Potentially for this interview, yes.
as a result?
I've
of this
said
interview?
a lot of things that you guys don't realize. We're heat. I brought it.
No. We realize.
Oh no, I'm feeling that kind of heat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, now you know that you have a job here.
thanks.
Hey.
Not my
Rebound.
passion. Thank you.
Man, words hurt.
Um,
Come on over.
Yeah. Bring Panky over here. You know?
I think the issue is, one, that's just not the way it's been done. And two, you do numbers.
Are you just saying words now?
No, there's a point.
Cattle.
Moo. The bulk of the organization is still Vietnam era and older.
Yep.
So you have to respect those long-held traditions.
Oh, sure.
You can't turn your back on the entire population.
Sure.
And some of the
Yeah,
suggestions...
nor should you. Yeah, nor
Correct.
should you. Yeah.
And so when I say that that's the way it's always been done, to present some of these more radical ideas, you'd be turning your back on a large chunk of the organization that believes there's an importance in having things separate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's a touchy subject. There are a lot of spouses who believe that the spouse organization should be... There are spouses who don't want to come into the post meetings because they believe they shouldn't be there.
Gotcha.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
I may get fired. Hit me with some more Legion questions. This is fun.
Well, I mean, I just think it's interesting because I've spoken at the Legion National Convention twice, and it's a really interesting situation because
So if you've been there, then they have a separate auxiliary convention.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting to me because to a person, everybody that I speak with there has said, we need more younger people. And when they're talking about younger, they're talking about me.
Oh,
and I'm not.
yes,
and
correct.
and I'm not young.
They're talking about him.
What's that?
They're talking about him.
No one's talking about him.
Nobody's talking about me.
But they're, to a person, it's like we need to attract younger members, and and I think that the leadership absolutely knows that it's critical
Yes.
to bring in younger people.
Yes.
And it's also the leadership, that is fired up about people like you. And, at Post 6, Anthony, I don't know if you guys have all met or not, but I don't know exactly how old he is. My guess is he's 35.
Young guy. Good.
And he's a stud.
Great.
And he's running a great post. And I've seen more and more of that. And I see the leadership that is Vietnam era more and more excited about people like that. So so I don't even know where the reticence, so to speak, is coming from, because all that I've seen over the years that I've been involved with the Legion is, a desire to bring on younger people.
So I will say that North Carolina is unique. I have been blessed beyond measure for the Gaither Keeners, the Jeff Joyners, who at my first meeting ever took me in, shoved a glass of scotch in front of me and told me to smoke a cigar. I mean, these guys welcomed me in with open arms.
And because you do what you're told.
And I was like,
you did this.
Yeah,
This is great.
I love this. God and country, guys. They welcome me with open arms. They call me their daughter today. So yes, there is this large chunk of,
Where's that cigar from, Hollywood?
That's a Warfighter cigar, veteran-owned cigar company.
There you go, Warfighter Tobacco.
That's a cute little.
They are not a sponsor.
Buddy.
They're not a sponsor. We're not hyping
That's cute,
anybody.
But you could be.
But you could be a sponsor.
$40, you can join the American Legion.
We're just peddling stuff. Like
Okay.
we've never had a show where we're just peddling things.
It's fun.
We're like, would you like some Warfighter tobacco? Like, would you like to join the American Legion?
I've had a lot of incredible men mentor me throughout this organization, and they know that. I mean, I say it as much as I can at every opportunity. But there have also been people who have hated that I've been in the positions I'm in, and have gone out of their way to prevent me from moving forward. I've had atrocious things said about me to my face, behind my back, on a quite consistent basis. So while I prefer to live in Rainbow Land, and
You're saying I live in Rainbow Land?
I live in Rainbow Land, I like to focus on the good. There is absolutely still a chunk out there that do not want to see progress. And you have to look at the history. The Korean vets never wanted to pass it to the Vietnam vets. The World War I vets never wanted to pass it to World War II. Same to Korea, same to Vietnam. So they're just repeating the cycle. I don't think many realize that, but there are a chunk that are just adamantly opposed to passing the
They're all
reins.
just spanking their kids
And-
because they got spanked.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
And
right
their
now.
posts are closing.
Mhm.
So it's not their posts will close. Their posts are actively being closed because you're getting to a point now where if you will not adapt, you will die.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's switch gears. Since we've basically just turned this in at this point to like a American Legion discussion.
And victory cigars.
And I think it's Warfighter tobacco, I believe. But the Legion, if you're giving advice to veterans, younger veterans. I don't even know what I'd say younger is, maybe 50 and under at this point.
That's fair. I would say 55 and under. Yeah.
Okay, 55 and younger, thinking about joining the Legion, wanting to get involved. What's your advice?
Go to as many events as possible. So don't just go to post events, go to department events. This is a bit problematic because a lot of the events are held on weekdays, which I respect is difficult
Tell people
to hit.
what departments are.
Departments are states. So don't just go to your local chapter, your local post, go to state meetings. And when you get there, shake everyone's hand. Learn who people are, because I guarantee you at every state there is a vacancy in some position or another. Get yourself plugged in, even if in the beginning it's not a council or a committee or a commission you want to be a part of. Just do it so that you can learn the process. Because even if it's not your passion, in order to really impact change in the area that is your passion, you need to know how to do it. You need to know how the game gets played. So get involved, ask a million questions, and then listen. I think that's the part where young veterans really get burned out. They try to force too much change too quickly. They don't understand how the organization works. They don't listen to their elders. They are there for a reason. Respect them, listen to them. They will help you thrive. You've just got to find the right ones. And reach out to people across the country. My best friend is Courtney Steffen. She's out of South Dakota. Whenever I have a bad day, I call her. I call Mark Seavey, even though half the time he's an asshole.
Mark Seavey.
Yeah. I mean, he's my
The
guy.
man,
Who
the
is
myth,
the legend.
This person.
Mark Seavey?
Mark Seavey?
If he had to describe himself, I think he'd describe himself as like a lump of potatoes.
Oh.
Mark
lump of
Seavey is a
potatoes.
wrestler.
Is he?
Yes.
Hold
He's a
on.
very good wrestler.
Look him up.
Mark Seavey's a wrestler. He's an infantryman.
I meant lump of potatoes like lovingly, but
he produces adorable children.
he does produce adorable children, which is
It's
shocking.
It's shocking. It's
Jinx,
shocking.
double jinx,
But
'cause
his
CVS
Seavey, because he is not
So-
adorable.
Mark and I, that's hurtful. I think he's very adorable, but his kids are significantly more adorable.
He's from Ridgeford, Connecticut.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So Mark and I, along with another gentleman by the name of Matt Burden, we once got kicked out of a bar, not for anything we had done, but because we drank so much in our first 45 minutes of sitting in the bar
That's Mark Seavey.
that the computer system flagged us as potential problems.
And they're like, you guys got to go
And they
before you
walk, the
become
waitress and the manager walk up and they're like, we're going to have to ask you to leave. And we were total gentlemen. We're like, I'm sorry, like, why? And we're like, we haven't done anything. Are you sure you have the right table? And they're like, no, you guys have been perfect gentlemen. But based on the amount
liability issue.
based on the amount of alcohol that you've drank in the first 45 minutes you've been here, we anticipate that you're going to be a problem.
That's some power. That's like a bragging.
So we just went to another bar.
And let me tell you, Seavey's still like that today. So Seavey's actually a really big deal in the American Legion.
He
He's
is a
the
big deal.
national judge advocate.
He is
So
a big
he
deal.
is like,
He's the man.
he's Big Daddy. I mean,
Yeah, he gets
the
stuff
buck
done.
stops with Mark Seavey.
He gets stuff done.
So while I'll drag him, I mean, he is arguably one of the most intelligent men I've ever met.
He's smart.
Okay, what else can we talk about?
We talk about anything. You came with topics.
Your contentious issues. We can go on to that.
Yeah, let's go on to that. I know you had a North Carolina article that you read, which I did not see. Can you tell me what that was about so I can...
So earlier this week, and I'm going to roughly go through this article one more time so I don't butcher it. But transgender girls basically in North Carolina are prohibited from joining any female sports.
Okay.
So that was passed. And of course, right now it's a Republican House. And at least I want to say 3 Democrats voted in favor for it.
So they went with their Republican.
Mm-hmm. The LGBTQ plus community is in huge uproar, of course, about that.
Understandably so, because it's a touchy subject, and everyone is going to have a very deeply held belief.
Sure.
I think we as a people have really gotten away from listening to one another, because I would wager that if all of our kids were in a room, we would encourage our children to love one another, regardless of how they identified.
Yep.
And I would wager if it wasn't a news headline, we would love our neighbor regardless of
Yes.
how they saw themselves.
But I think, and I my problem with the transgender national debate is that these poor people have become, dragged. Like I
On
really,
both sides.
I really think it's so inappropriate to just be constantly beating up on people. And so there are people that believe that, being transgender is perfectly natural. And there are people that think it's a mental condition and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter where you are on that spectrum, picking on these people
is not the right answer.
Is not cool.
It's not the right answer.
Whether, so let's start with that as a premise. I don't actually think that either side, like, I don't think Republicans really care about transgender people. I don't think Democrats really care about transgender people. I think it's abortion is kind of gone as an argument
and they
point,
needed a new
and they need
hot topic
they need
issue.
a new thing that they don't really care about solving, because there isn't a solution. Like, it's always been a thing.
I think that's where your uniparty comes in. The uniparty knew that they could tear people apart, which is ultimately what they wanted.
I don't mean this as like an insulting thing to anyone, because I realize that if you're in this, it's critically important.
Absolutely.
I don't care about this issue because it doesn't affect the country in any meaningful way. So like, who, this state wins, this state, loses or whatever. I do think that we have to be reasonable about, if somebody has gone through puberty as a male and then becomes a woman, you just have a really big fucking advantage. And I think anybody that like tries to argue around that is insane.
Yes.
If I decided to transition right now,
you would still whoop the shit out of me.
I would still beat the crap out of, like, and I'm talking about, like, I've done combat sports my whole life. Since 1987. That's when I started judo.
That's a long time. I wasn't even alive.
You were not alive then. No.
Neither.
Maybe you are old.
I'm old.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started. I was 30. I started judo in 1987. I have grappled with women who are much better than me.
That don't have like fragile bones like me.
They are much better technically. I've wrestled with women that are like Olympic level athletes, right? I can still win and win relatively easily
because of pure brute strength.
Yeah, just like Kelsey's a great athlete. If Kelsey and I decide to grapple, she cannot get me to the ground unless her timing is like perfect and I'm sleeping on it. And it's not because she's not a better athlete than me or she might be more skilled or whatever. It's just an unfair advantage. Like, and so even if you regulate my testosterone at this point and drop my testosterone to, acceptable levels, I still have a completely different skeletal structure. My body is accustomed to having a certain amount of muscle. You don't lose that. You lose some, but you don't, but it isn't fair. And, I was, I'm good friends. I don't want to overstate it, but I'm friends with Chief Beck, who, became
was a guest on the American Legion's podcast.
Became Kristen Beck and now is back to being Chris. Yes. But when Chris was still Kristen, we had this conversation because we had the relationship where, like, I could ask those questions,
which is beautiful.
I said, I'm trying, like, I'm wrestling with this because on the one hand, you want life to be fair and you want people to have opportunity. And, if there was a 15-year-old kid that wanted to do a sport, you don't want to say you can't do the sport. And, at the time now he was like, Nick, like, obviously I'm on board with this. And, it's like, but if I decide, at my age now, and at the time, I think she was 48 or something. If I went into, women's MMA right now, I would beat the crap out of people. It would be so unfair. Like, it's just unfair. And so that's what I keep coming back to is it's not like I want to pick on anybody. It's not like I want to make somebody feel bad. But, you know, when like Leah Thomas beat, you know, the second place girl who had won everything for 3 years
swimming.
by 45 seconds, it's like.
So I sort of approach this through a different lens, likely because I am a woman. We keep seeing this argument over what it is to be a woman. And it's insulting, the definitions that people come up with. You know, they make it seem as if merely having breasts makes an individual a woman.
Sure.
What about all of the women who have had mastectomies because they have cancer? Are they less women now? Or the argument that being able to birth a child, bringing a child into this world is what makes me a woman. What about all of the women who have gone through menopause?
Mm-hmm.
All of the women who are infertile? Are they less women because they can't birth a child? And that's where I get really frustrated. We have to embrace everyone and be inclusive, but you can't minimize my identity to something as, this is going to sound rough, but to something as relatively meaningless as breasts.
Mm-hmm.
I am so much more than that. And this argument that to be a woman is just putting on a pink dress in the morning and pretty heels and ruffles in my hair. I'll never be that, but I'm still one incredible woman. And that's where I really feel this argument has been lost. You should be able to be whoever you want to be and be respected and welcomed in a room. And the argument, because it is constantly in front of us.
Sure.
It's insulting to all involved, no matter what side you're on.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's where I get really, really frustrated, because I think in the process of trying to hash this out, we are.
Yeah. I think we should just, in general terms, we should be kind to people. Like who
would
cares?
really go back to your ethos.
Yeah.
And now you brought that up, and now I still feel bad about the Bobart thing because I said respect. That's going to haunt me.
I'm glad. You deserve that.
Okay. Sorry. I was like, wrapping back. Yes, we should all be nice to each other.
But I think, you know, I think picking on people for who they are, for how they see themselves, for who they, you know, like all of these things.
Unforgivable.
Like, it's inappropriate when you're talking about race. It's inappropriate when you're talking about sexuality. It's inappropriate when you're talking about whether somebody is transgender or not. I think picking on people in general terms, bullying is wrong. It's not cool. It's unnecessary. I think that we have to have reasonable conversations around athletic endeavors, particularly, like, for example, you know.
Well, you don't even have to talk about the transgender issue when we talk about athletic endeavors. We can look back to the military. I mean, this conversation is had between men and women PT standards. This is a long-going debate of what are the differences?
Yeah.
Should these differences be recognized? How should they be treated? And we don't even have an answer for that in the military still.
We don't, you know, and it's.
When did you get out?
Like 2004.
So like way back.
A long time ago.
Way back.
Yeah.
So very different PT standards when you got out.
The mile to max the run on the PT test a couple years before I got out was 11:47. That was the max 2 mile run. If you wanted to max it, you had to run 11:47.
Like the best time possible?
No, like that.
Oh, that was the worst time possible.
No, if you had to run 2 miles in 11 minutes and 47 seconds in order to get like the top score.
Oh, to be perfect.
To be
wow.
To be perfect, yes.
Okay.
And then when I got out, they had moved that to 13 minutes, and now they have the new kind of test. That
the Marine Corps is yes.
Yeah, and the Marine
like
Corps
new
does 3
workouts
miles.
now too. I don't even
yeah,
know.
Yeah, it's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I don't know how applicable any of it really was to anything, but you know, I do think that I think a standard by job description is appropriate.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, if you're going to be in the infantry,
I think what you're looking for is a meritocracy.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're in the infantry, you know,
you need to hit these standards.
You need to hit these standards. Does that mean that a lot of women won't be able to do it? Yes, but also a lot of men won't be able to do it.
Correct.
And that has to be okay if we're really trying
Yeah.
to be fair.
If you're a linguist,
If you're a linguist,
you
what
can be
does it
slow.
what does it matter? Like
Yes.
who you're running from? You know, like you're not running any
in the
you're not,
skiff, like
yeah, you're like, oh God, I got the
Saw my
the boss
shadow.
needs coffee. You know, so you know, I think all of those kinds of conversations are fair to have. I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of having an open division. You know, it's like, and it's again, it's not picking on people. By all means, compete in the women's division, but you know, that genetic girl should still be able to.
You should want to be the best athlete in the room. You should want to be the best legionnaire in the room. You shouldn't want to compete with. Your goal should be to win against all swimmers. That is what we should be moving towards. And that's hard to implement because you'd have to ignore gender altogether to really strive for that. And there would be those breakaway women who absolutely destroy their competition.
There absolutely are.
But to your point, there are physical differences. So I don't know how logistically you could implement this where we all just compete as humans, because there are those differences.
Yeah, and you're not going to overcome those until we start genetically modifying people
That's terrifying.
and or exoskeletons. It's
Let's
all
hope
coming.
that never
It's all
happens.
coming. It's
I'd
all
like
coming.
an exoskeleton if I could get one.
It's all coming.
You
you
really
know-
think so?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100% it's happening.
Do you think AI, like Elon Musk says, will be the decline of
I think
humanity?
I think AI is a huge threat.
okay?
I think it's a huge threat for lots of reasons.
I read a really interesting article the other day. You know how they have those little tests when you're trying to fill out a form?
Yep.
You have to captchas.
Yeah.
Robots can't do a captcha.
Yeah.
Well, a kid went into AI and said, I want you to figure out how to do all these captchas. So the AI hired a human, paid the human to do the captchas all day long. And so the fact that it's able to
Circumvent that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
absolutely terrifying.
and this is only generation 3 AI right now.
Yeah. What about generation 7?
Well, generation 5 is already essentially done. They're beta
my God, that's
testing
terrifying.
it. And it's, yeah, I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's like immediate, but you know, we've talked about this a little bit on the show before, but for example, if I wanted to destroy your life, I could take photos of you
Oh.
and I could feed that into AI, and I could take photos of your husband's best friend, and I could create a video,
An image, yeah.
I'd create a video
Which is terrifying. I'm trying to
that,
ignore it.
that looks just like you guys and put that out on the internet. Like, you can do that now. You can make it seem like things are what they're not. But it's so much harder. There's a bunch of women right now that are not on whatchamacallit, what's the service men use for essentially like personal porn.
Pornhub.
No,
He
Chatterbait?
said it
No,
so
no.
confidently.
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Oh,
Okay,
OnlyFans.
well, look at us.
Yeah.
Oops.
OnlyFans.
We're really aging ourselves over here.
So there have been essentially guys that have grabbed these kinds of images and created fictional OnlyFans allegedly of these people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, I mean, so
Wow, that's terrifying.
it's terrifying, and these women are getting dragged, and it's not even them, and that's just now.
Well, that's crazy because we still don't even have equal laws across the country about revenge porn. We are so far behind.
But the argument for this is going to be, well, this isn't real; it's art.
But then
But
we
they
get into a
can-
far darker
But they can
argument
take
here.
your voice and they can take your image and they can make something and call it art. Like if somebody painted a nude photo of you, like, you can't do anything about that. So where does AI fall on that? And this right now, I'm just talking about something that's really, you know, we're not even going deep on anything.
Yeah, I've never even considered this because the thing about
Oh, yeah.
AI that has always concerned me, and it is immediate, you do see the implications now, are all of the corporations whose primary job is to turn a profit for their shareholders.
Oh yeah.
It's a no-brainer. So you see them laying people off in hordes.
There was just an article written, I think it was the Washington Post, but I could be wrong. But it was a serious piece of journalism where this extremely high-level coder, like some dude making $800,000 a year to code, is writing about how he believes like his job is probably at its end because he jokingly was like asked AI to code something. And it did it in like milliseconds, and it was like, man, this is essentially my job.
And that's problematic because a lot of people would counter argue that people may be left off, but they'll just move to more.
But what are you going to at some point? What do you move to?
Correct. The argument was we'll just move to more technical jobs rather than these blue collar jobs. Well, if the technical jobs, as you're saying, are also being eliminated, where do these people go? Yeah. And so people get so excited about AI.
Well, then there's other things like, you could tell AI to figure, hey, I need you to. So right now, ChatGPT has some training wheels and some roadblocks. They can't do things because of how it's programmed. Yeah. But we could essentially take that same tech, which, by the way, OpenAI allows people to license. We could take that same tech and we could take those training wheels off and say, hey, I want you to figure out how to crash the power grid. Hey, I want you to figure out how to hack into whatever. Hey, I want you to constantly track Liz and report back, where she is at all times based off of her laptop, hey, I'm going to connect you to these drones. And here's her face. And when you identify her, I want you to fly a drone into her and explode.
So this is
what I think about.
This needs to be, I think, what you're saying on our like president and SecDef wand.
Yes.
Top priority.
I'm
sure they're working on this though. They have to be working. Like you see.
I'm sure they are too.
Fast enough? I don't know.
The ability to kill, maim, do all kinds of damage without getting your hands dirty is increasing rapidly. And it's not just Reaper drones flying over and dropping bombs. I mean, it can be a drone that's
like a Mod Pod, like you made it at home drone.
It can be a DJI micro drone that has a small explosive charge or can shoot one bullet or.
So it's interesting you bring up drones. Do you feel that there should be more regulations surrounding drones that are manufactured in part or whole out of China or any other?
Yeah. I don't think we should be doing any chips. Like, I don't think China should be providing us with anything that in any way, shape, or form is tied to security.
So how do you say, I agree, for security purposes, how do you weigh that against a corporation trying to get the cheapest product possible?
You give them the choice. Like, you can either do business with the U.S. government
or a U.S. business,
or you can't manufacture there.
You got to get out of the country, would be your argument.
You can't manufacture in China because, they've already found like implanted chips and they've already found, they're stealing our technology. And I'm not like anti-China in terms of like the people. I think China's great.
No, and I'm saying that any adversary is what I'm arguing here.
But, you cannot continue to expose us to this kind of stuff because it is really hard. I mean, it doesn't even have to be something that complex. I mean, look at it a different way. What if you had AI? I'm going to say something dumb that shouldn't even matter. What if you had AI fuck with everybody's credit reports?
Oh, it would cause chaos.
Sounds silly, right?
Yeah, but that would cause
it sounds
chaos.
Silly. And you could really ruin businesses, people, and there's no easy way to fix any of this stuff.
Oh my gosh, you've seen congressional testimonies where they try to understand Bitcoin. Can you imagine congressmen trying to wrap their heads around AI?
Yeah, or how about AI? I need you to hack in and steal all this Bitcoin. Like, I mean, the attackers always outpace the defenders, right? We all have some kind of virus software on our computer. how often it's updating like daily.
Mhm.
Why? Because there's new attacks,
Yep.
and those attacks are getting through, and then somebody has to program. So at some point, it's going to be AI versus
Again, AI, yes.
Yeah. Where does that end? Microsoft set up 2 AI pieces that were like separate entities to talk to each other. And within 5 minutes of interaction, they were all excited. Within 5 minutes of interaction, they changed and created their own language
That's terrible.
that Microsoft couldn't figure out what they were saying.
Like a new coding language or a new
No.
spoken language?
Like back and forth.
That's terrible.
They shut it down because they were like, what the hell is going on? We don't know. And it's not, it's not necessarily consciousness the way we think about consciousness. Like I know who I am or whatever. It is, but maybe it is, right? Because our brains are essentially a bunch of electrical impulses drawing on information stored in some form or fashion.
Drawing on information stored in some form or fashion is exactly what they're doing.
I mean, that's all AI is. And right now, ChatGPT is not allowed to access the internet, is not allowed to access external data. It just knows what it knows based on what you tell it. But if it is suddenly allowed to access like a wealth of knowledge, or we give it data, or let's say I'm Russia and I'm like, hey, these are where we know all the US bases are. Here's how do we make it so all these bases lose power at the same time? How do we make it so, this thing will calculate it? And I'm not saying it'll be perfect right now.
No.
But
because we're only in round 3. But the problem is, to my earlier point, we're not even caught up with the current threats.
Correct.
So how do we get ahead of this new threat when we can't even?
I think that truth is already blurred, and I think it's going to be very, very hard.
Did you see the Trump arrest photos, like the fake AI arrest photos?
Yeah.
They're damn good.
Of course they are. I've talked about this in the past. I hate to always bring up similar things, but one of our videographers, Tom Hunt, took pictures of me and this is before ChatGPT. This is before these new AI, real powerhouse. He took my face and imported it into Indiana Jones. And we run computers. Like I think he has the most expensive computer that we have here, and it's like a $8,000-9,000 computer. Okay. And he let it run over the weekend, because the longer you let it run, the better it
comes out.
So he started it on Friday at 5 p.m.
Home.
Went in, and we all came in, and it was a pretty good Indiana Jones
with your face on it.
My face and my voice. It wasn't perfect. You could see that it was flawed.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You and I are going to see that, but our parents will not. And that's the part that scares me.
Well,
our parents, our grandparents will not know the difference.
Now imagine that you're a state like Russia or China or North Korea or whatever, and you have access to $100,000 computers and a bunch of them linked together, and you have the latest AI tech, and you're asking the same thing. You could literally create an entire movie. I mean, look at like the new Indiana Jones movie. He's young in the whole movie. They did that based off of video of him young back in the day in the 80s when the first one came. He still was the actor. He said all the lines. Old him was the actor. And then they were like, hey, run it through this
young body.
And they made him young. I mean, so, it is conceivable that in the not too distant future, I can manufacture any video I want about you. I can manufacture anything about you. You can manufacture anything about me with just based off of what is out there.
We can see now, yeah.
We all are on social media. Our face is, our face profile.
Well, this was honestly really terrifying. You can find people's
face with satellites now. You can find people's face with drones. I mean,
I just keep thinking about this as an awesome movie, and it
has been
no.
I mean,
so the more you like these scenarios that you're putting in place, my mind is just.
I'm not going to be able to sleep.
Well, you seem terrified, but I'm like
because she knows DOD and DOS. She knows like this isn't pie in the sky. This like right now, no new tech.
You know who's gonna love this? Uniparty.
Yeah.
Because Uniparty can use this to cherry pick what, like they already don't,
Yeah.
but take it one step further. If the masses do really rally behind some revolutionary, well, just make something and get them
Yeah.
out.
With no new tech right now, we have drones that essentially, by marrying like nothing greater than like Facebook technology, we could send, if we knew, let's say, hey, we know Kelsey's in this area, we could have drones just hover until one of the drones picks up your face,
And fire.
and then those drones could go and
Execute.
Okay, so what is the answer aside from just like going to the mountains
it's
and destroying everything?
it's a good question. It's a good question because
there is nothing stopping me. So how do you protect yourself?
I don't know. I mean, it's conceivable that we might have protection drones. It's like I expect high wealth individuals, if they don't have them already,
Like a drone bodyguard.
almost like a micro army of drones that are, because, it's so hard to tell, you fire a bullet at somebody, that gun can be traced.
Yes.
Maybe you've left something on there. Maybe there's,
Mark Wahlberg shooter.
who knows? Yeah. Who knows? Right.
Yeah.
But a tiny drone where you can't really track the signal. You could have a repeater somewhere. You could be literally in another country and you're flying this drone and, it blows up and you're killed. Like,
This sounds like
how do
something
you even track it?
the American Legion should write a resolution about.
The American Legion should get on this.
We'll save the
we're
day.
bringing it. We're bringing it full circle back to the Legion.
$40
For $40 a year, the
And
American
$80
Legion
from
will
Stop
protect
AI.
you from murder drones. There is your.
I just did your job for you. You can hire me after all.
Brilliant. Matt DeMaio was sitting in Northeast Africa with his Marine unit, and he was hungry, really hungry. The meals ready to eat that he was issued weren't getting the job done. The protein bars his parents sent tasted like mush, and the other members of his unit had eaten all the crayons available. Matt was left unsatisfied. So he did what every Marine does in a crisis. He baked. And he baked and he baked and he baked and he baked until he had his eureka moment. Albert Einstein emerged from a room of chalkboards and gave us the theory of relativity. Michelangelo gave his life and eyesight to bequeath upon us the Sistine Chapel. Bob the caveman was tired of carrying everything, and he chiseled out the wheel, and our world was forever improved. Matt emerged from his kitchen with the Condition 1 Nutrition Protein Bar. Like those previous lesser inventors, Matt changed the world. No longer would we be stuck with protein bars full of processed foods and low on taste. Now we'd have something healthy and delicious. And if you're worried that this all sounds too complicated for a Marine, Matt brought in a SEAL type to assist with the formulation, so you know it's fancy and likely has a glorious head of hair, a book, and a movie in the works. Condition 1 Nutrition. Your protein bars don't have to suck. Visit them at gocondition1.com. That's gocondition1.com. All right, let's do this.
I
The
tried to be
first-
smooth with
I'm ready.
that.
Yeah,
It
that was good.
happened.
That was good. The
It did
spin,
okay.
the spin was a nice touch. The spin was a nice touch. We are about to do the rapid fire question round.
Yes.
You can't take more than 10 seconds to answer any of these, or
Okay.
Kelsey will tell you that your time's up. or
An
whatever.
idiot.
No, she won't say that. The first question I always ask everybody is, what is the toughest animal you think you could take in hand-to-hand combat?
A squirrel.
A squirrel, that's it?
Mm-hmm.
You're calling it there?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Which movie sequel do you wish you could erase from history?
Born Supremacy.
Wow.
Okay, all right. No comment on that, but I understand. You want to tell us why in like one sentence?
They were done with the first.
Okay. Who would play you in a movie?
Oh, the Queen Gambit's girl. No,
Oh.
Ygritte from Game of Thrones.
Who?
Ygritte from
Wait,
Game of
Oh
Thrones.
my goodness, who did
Who's
she
Ygritte?
play? Who
Is
did,
Ygritte the little kid?
Ygritte is the
Oh, that
gorgeous
one.
redhead
Yes, that married.
who is in
Oh,
love with
oh,
Jon
oh, oh,
Snow.
No, you know what? I don't
No,
like her anymore
no.
because she got to marry him.
Jessica
That's not fair.
Chastain from Molly's Game.
That is who I first said. Yeah.
No, you first said Queen's Gambit.
Queen's
Totally,
Gambit.
that's a different
Yeah, that's-
actress.
Oh, sorry. I was mixing up my gaming.
Molly's
redheads.
Game. Okay.
Molly's
Molly's
game.
Game.
But I can
Yes.
see Egret, her
Egret, because I don't
personality
brush
from
my
it.
hair.
We're
She doesn't
denying-
brush her hair.
We're denying the egret, and we're
No.
saying it's Jessica Chastain from Molly's Game.
I mean,
All
that's
right.
No. I can't
personality-wise,
see
it's egret.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'll take the
100%.
looks, though. That's a
Minus
compliment.
marrying Jon Snow.
She never married him,
She married him in real life.
and then she shot him in the heart. Like it was.
No, in real life they're together.
Yeah.
Oh, in real life.
In real life,
Yeah.
yeah, they got
I
married.
am living
So
in
she's
fantasy
got
land.
beef because
Yeah, I do.
You got a Jon Snow thing.
I do.
Okay,
I can't
that's all
wait
right. He's a
for-
good
I
looking
can't
guy.
wait for the
The divorce.
I was gonna say the Game
got
of
his number?
Thrones spinoff.
Yeah, there is a spinoff coming.
Hey,
All right.
Kit.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
I couldn't do karaoke, so like I know 10 seconds is past, but Colt 45
Okay, give us 10 seconds of it. Go.
and 2 zigzags, baby. That's all we need. We can go to the park after dark.
You really,
I can't
you really
remember.
committed to that.
That's all like, oh my god.
You really
I
committed to
don't
that.
like singing. I know I'm not good at
You
it.
gave as much effort to that as you did to the Marine Corps.
Even worse.
Raw.
What is your weapon of choice in the apocalypse?
Glock 45.
Okay, respectable. What's something that you posted on social media that you immediately regretted?
There's a photo of me chugging beer out of a phallic-shaped object. I immediately regretted that.
Okay. Who amongst us hasn't done that?
That's fair.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
I regularly eat Campbell's bean with bacon soup out of the can.
I feel like that's not weird. It's just like basic.
Disgusting.
I'd say basic.
Weirdest thing. Yeah, weirdest thing I've ever ate.
What mistakes did you make early in your career other than break your hip?
Oh, I didn't. I spoke too quickly.
Like a fast speaker? Like
No, I said things I never should have said.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Came with the hair.
Do you drive in the left lane? And if so, when people move behind you, do you get out of the way?
Oh, absolutely. You should be driving in
'Cause
the
you're a-
right-hand lane.
Because you're a decent person.
Yes.
Thank you for
Also,
that.
would anyone ever answer that honestly if they didn't?
Yeah, people do all the time.
What?
Oh yeah, people are like, I don't move.
They own it?
Yeah,
That they
own it.
drive in the left
They
lane?
fucking own it.
Psychopaths.
I know. What was your scariest moment in the military? I'll extend it. You can also say DOS.
Oh, I was in old city Jerusalem, and there was like a quick lockdown. That was pretty scary. A guy running through the city with a knife, and
With a knife?
yes,
Like just one knife?
like a knife. That was very common happening, and
Okay, I mean, I feel like that's like a little.
I
like-
am
Trying
like
to
a
downplay
really
all,
vanilla.
all of your stories.
I mean,
all
like,
your
man.
This is a really vanilla girl.
Like, oh, there's a guy with a butter knife. You know, like, there's a guy that's got a like a caulk
You
gun.
got a whole Kim Possible thing going on too. At that, like,
Also
you
doesn't
could
brush her
just
hair.
Do you have a
exaggerate.
secret talent that you are generally not willing to share?
Yes,
What is it?
I have a lot of secret talents.
Well, give us one of them.
I'm not willing to share. Like that's the thing.
Because it's a secret talent.
Look,
Because it's a
You're
secret talent.
generally not willing to share.
Yeah, generally, you don't have to tell
And
us
you
like
are general
you don't have to
folks.
tell us the creepiest thing that
Oh,
you're.
now
I
we're
like-
general folks.
I like you.
Okay, I see how it is.
You don't have to tell us your creepiest talent. Like just
Um,
something that like is.
I think I have like an uncanny way to get people to tell me what they're thinking.
Yeah. What do you do? Put a knife to their throat?
A butter knife, and I run through a city. Yeah.
Were you that one in Jerusalem?
There's
It
a
wasn't somebody
there's a
else.
crazy person with red hair running through the streets of Jerusalem with a knife. So you're not going to tell us?
That is genuinely like one.
How do you do it? Make Kelsey tell you something.
I have no idea. I think
Get
people
Kelsey
just
to
think
tell you.
I'm.
Get Kelsey to tell you something.
Tell me something. Tell me your deepest secret.
See, the opposite of you. I don't like sharing. When somebody-
Yeah, we don't know anything
When
about Kelsey. We don't even know if that's her real name.
no, not at all.
What's your favorite pastime?
Watching the Cleveland Browns lose at football.
Hey,
They are great
hey.
at losing.
They're
Yes.
great.
What do you like most about civilian life?
I can say whatever I want. What's really going to happen?
I don't know.
We'll find out after the
I make way more money.
If someone wrote a biography about your life, what would the title be?
Erratic redhead.
When was the last time you screamed at the top of your lungs?
8 years ago when I broke my leg.
And it wasn't Hanky that stepped on your leg.
No,
Just for
no.
Just for clarity.
Just
Okay.
his name was Mitch.
All right. What dumb thing did you believe for a really long time?
I think when I was younger, I believed that when we first went into the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, it was for democracy.
What's the most useless word?
This is 2 words. No offense.
What do you miss most about the military? We got a lot of questions in here. for you.
Inherent.
Usually it's just a couple, but
inherent brotherhood.
Okay. Do you believe in the supernatural, witches, ghosts,
Absolutely.
etc.? Are you a witch?
Yeah, well, the red hair.
That's my secret.
The red hair.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Name 3 of your favorite films.
Oh man, I was going to
This
TV
is a-
shows.
This
Sorry,
is a serious.
This is
I was going to
rapid
TV
fire
shows.
round.
You're gonna have to give me a second on the movies.
You,
We can
Can I do TV shows
Yes.
instead?
yeah, go ahead. Do TV
Justified, Game
show.
of Thrones,
Okay, yes.
and what's the third one that I just always watch?
shows. I don't know. You haven't said it.
Oh, this is such like a finance bro thing to say, but Succession.
Okay. I haven't watched a single
On,
episode.
I'm
of
leaning in.
Succession.
HBO or
HBO.
yeah.
What's your least favorite wedding song ever?
I eloped, so it's difficult. I would say all of them.
They're all bad.
Yeah.
Every single one's bad.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you wish existed that doesn't?
Before, until you got into that AI conversation, I would have said like a robot that I could like program to drive me places,
Yeah.
do my laundry.
But now you know it's
But now
ultimately
I
gonna
can't
it's gonna
answer
murder
this.
you. It's
Correct.
gonna murder you.
So one,
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing.
What's been your favorite age so far? We got one more.
This is
after
so
this.
cheesy. Every age. I fucking love my life.
Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Last one. What is your dream vacation?
I would love to get Eastern Europe for like 2 months.
Like Ukraine?
Yeah, Poland. Just not Ukraine now. I see how that sounds.
Not Ukraine right now. Maybe when they're
Crimea.
maybe after everything.
Yeah,
is- maybe
there's
when
some
they're
beautiful,
restored.
beautiful beachfront property in Ukraine right now that I think you could
In
get.
my brain, I was answering this 6 years ago.
Yeah,
Poland has always been on my list.
Poland's awesome.
And,
Yeah, it's awesome.
that was my dream. You guys just squashed
We just
it.
ruined your
You
dream.
just totally
And that's
ruined
what we do here on the neutral position.
Russia.
We
Wow,
ruin
it. Wow, that
dreams.
sounded fucking dumb. But that was-
We ruin dreams. We make people feel bad about themselves. Liz, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being on the show. Thanks for all you do with the American Legion. And, thanks for, Hank and stuff.
Yeah.
At least he
Thanks for
knows
watching.
now that
Don't
he's
forget
been as
to-
a part
Folks,
of the show
thanks
as
so
as
much
you.
for watching. And, subscribe. We appreciate you subscribing, signing up. And if you want more Liz, let us know.